Hi, Talking Cars fans. We'll be shooting an episode of the podcast live at the 2019 LA Auto Show on Friday, November 22nd between 10 a.m. and noon, and we would love to have you in our audience. To join us, email talkingcars@consumer.org by Friday, November 15th, and let us know if you'd like to attend. You'll be able to ask questions of our experts, and as a special benefit, you'll receive free admission to the LA Auto Show. All you have to do is get yourself to the Los Angeles Convention Center. Tickets are first come, first served, so email us today. We'd love to see you there.
We wrap up our tests of the 2020 Subaru Outback and discuss what we found. We also talk about Consumer Report's new automotive reliability surveys. We answer audience questions, including why some car companies just can't seem to unlock the keys to good reliability. Next on Talking Cars. Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mike Quincy.
I'm John Lincove.
I'm Gabe Shenhar.
So this is one of our favorite times of the year because Consumer Report's annual automotive reliability survey is out. This survey is among the largest of its kind. We gather data from hundreds of thousands of CR members. And perhaps the best news is that consumers don't have to pay a lot to get a reliable car. But Gabe, perhaps you could give us a little bit of background as to why this survey is so important.
For those of you who don't know, we ask our members every year to fill out a questionnaire with experience about their cars. And we get a lot of large sample size. And we ask them through 17 points, starting with engine problems, transmission problems, powertrain, electronics, power equipment, infotainment, you name it. And we get a real clear picture of reliability in cars, and that's a major tool for a consumer to decide about a new car, and we're pretty unique about that.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the things that separates Consumer Reports from a lot of publishers. And you know, John, you have a lot of really great insights on the new survey, including how new introductions can be a problem. I mean, what's our advice for people looking to buy a first-year redesigned car?
Yeah, so this year one of the unique things we did was we did more of a cross-survey analysis. So we looked at past surveys of how first-year models did and how the model right before a generation was changed over. And then we looked at this survey to see how they differed. And one of the things that the survey allowed us to reinforce is the advice of don't buy the first year of a new, like brand new, never before seen model, or the first year of a redesigned model. Mm-hmm. So they tend to have the most teething pains. By teething pains, I mean, they have just the growing pains, again, same thing with pains, but they're the first time they're making the production process for that vehicle. They're putting in all new parts. They have suppliers building new parts. Mm-hmm. And that's where they have, problems. That's where you see. And you don't see major issues generally, gone are the days of the engine falling out while you're driving, so to speak. But it's squeaks and rattles, but it also is infotainment and software related. So a lot of those problems are rearing their head in modern cars, in today's cars. It's much better to either wait a couple years. You love that new whatever XYZ vehicle that comes out. It looks great. It's got all the power you want. It's got the infotainment.
You want to be the first person on your block.
You want to be the first person on the block, but you know what? Be the fourth person on your block. Or if you're really looking for a good deal, buy the previous generation, the model that they just discontinued. Right. There's going to be some on the dealer lot. It's going to have a lot of good features, maybe not all the new high, whiz-bang features, but it's the end of the model run is generally the most reliable of all of them. They've worked out all the problems. They then started focusing on the new car. That's the one to buy. And they're going to come at a discount because they want to move them off the lot.
But it's sort of a conundrum because the new cars are ushering in the newest technology, and the older cars may have older technology, but they're more reliable. So this is kind of an interesting, maybe I don't call it a dilemma that car buyers are facing.
Yeah, when you take into account all the factors leading to a buying decision, it should be one of your factors.
Well, and one other thing to think of, and these aren't vehicles that we're giving away reliability data on here. But if you think about an existing model like the Audi Q7, okay, so it's been out for a few years. Mm-hmm. Then they introduced the Q8. It's a slightly smaller little swoopier, but Audi then is taking some of the elements of that car. that vehicle, the interior, the infotainment system, some of the exterior look, and they're putting on the Q7 as a freshening. So you can get some new technology as a car ages because they take updates from other similar models. They may add some equipment. So you're not going to get necessarily, oh my gosh, I'm getting a model that was built in 2000, designed back in 1993 if I buy it today. It's not exactly that you're going to get an ancient model, but that's right. You're not going to get the cutting edge. And sometimes, like, buying a cell phone or whatever you're buying, you need software updates, you need this, you need that. Go with the old reliable. It's a safer bet. It's going to save you money on the dealer's lot, and it's going to save you headaches, time, and money taking it back for service.
So the point about software updates is really important because it isn't just, I can't listen to the radio. It's the software is controlling the nav system and the climate system and maybe even more important things.
Engine management system, braking system, in some cars, suspension. It's not just like you said, the stuff you touch. Right. It's everything behind the vehicle that you expect to keep it running.
Right.
Yeah. It governs everything.
And so cars have become maybe even a little less hardware and more software these days.
Yep.
So listen, check out consumerreports.org. There's a whole lot more reliability stories we've got up there. This will really be the best tool that you can use when it comes to buying a new or used car. And that brings us to our next section, which is what we're driving this week. We've wrapped up the test results of the Subaru Outback. We know that this model is particularly popular with a whole bunch of our members. And Gabe, I was thinking about this. The Outback was originally introduced in the early 90s. And I was thinking, you've probably tested every single one of them.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, it started out as a version of the Subaru Legacy wagon. And then it kind of evolved over the years, and it gained ride height, and it kind of became remember the Ancola? So
the Uncola?
Yeah.
7-Up?
Exactly. So the Outback is like the SUV.
Right.
And it's a raised wagon, but it over the years it gained such a cult following. Every person who is into camping, and everyone in New England, in Colorado, in Alaska, and the Pacific Northwest is in love with the Outback.
And so the 2020 model, we have finished testing it.
Yeah.
What are your impressions?
So Subarus are never about show off. They're very sensible, very functional kind of cars, and the new Outback doesn't stray from this formula. But it moved into this new Subaru platform. It's a very solid structure. It feels it. The car rides beautifully. I mean, it outrides some luxury cars that cost $100,000. The standard engine does the job, but it's not very exciting. But if you get the XT, which brings you the 2.4 liter turbo, that really transforms the car and gives you this really effortless acceleration. There are also some nice interior details that Subaru learned from its customers over the years, like the built-in crossbars that fold and are always with the car. So it's a really neat kind of a car.
It's definitely a good redesign, many steps forward. John, you drove it last night. You also have kids that are younger than Gabe's and mine. Could you see a family of your size living with a vehicle like this?
Yeah, I mean, as a cyclist, I love the roof bars that fold in and out, because you could attach your crossbars too. You could carry your kayak, you could carry your skis, you can carry your bike or whatever. Yeah, it's plenty of room for kids. I mean, my kids are almost 8 and 10. It's plenty of room for them, plenty of room for a Costco run with them. Not buying all the toilet paper and the paper towels, but it'll fit most stuff. Driving it is really refreshing in some ways because the dash is it's almost like sitting in front of this table. This is the top of the dashboard. If you're bumping you have no excuse really. I mean, some people might, but to worry about bumping the nose of the car against something because you can see everything. Unlike a lot of vehicles where you're sitting really low and the dash is high and you have no idea where the front of the car is. I'm not enamored with their infotainment system. It's about yay high, about that wide, and it kind of looks like a morning news program where it's got weather up top and CarPlay here, and then it's got radio here, and you could slide and you get to go here for the preset. It's not that it's, old man can't get with technology. It's just there's a lot going on that I think it could be simplified, that you don't have to have everything there. You can't have everything you want in one spot. So get rid of some of it. Get rid of the weather and the other stuff at the top. I don't need to see the xDrive status and stuff like that.
You can change that.
Yeah, but it's just there's so much there. And yes, you can put more tiles on the main application tiles on the main screen and such. It just is very busy, and but sometimes it's hard to hit little buttons when you're doing, say, Waze and CarPlay.
Right, and your basic day-to-day operations. I mean, this morning in Connecticut, it was about 17 degrees. And so it's like, okay, I really want to put on the seat heaters. Subaru's known for a cold climate car. Seat heaters are a big deal in areas like this. And you have to hit the seat heater button, wait for the graphic to come up, and then choose the level that you want, and you could tap, 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 and that whole time, your eyes aren't on the road.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, last night the car was cold, sitting outside, and the screen was slow to respond. And I do miss the toggle switches. Sometimes, there's a toggle switch for something in some regions you may use a lot. But
they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with the control system. It mostly relates to climate functions, but the infotainment is pretty easy.
It's snappy and it works well. It's just for me, there's way too much going on it. I'd like to see a little more of the previous generation, a little more towards there than going the whole Tesla giant screen.
I think overall, though, I mean, there aren't a lot of things that we don't like about this car, the infotainment system, some of the controls, but a whole lot of standard safety equipment that comes on this car. I find that the Outback super easy to recommend to people. Gabe, you kind of mentioned that before. I call it like the anti-SUV. It's sort of an all-weather vehicle, almost not quite all-terrain, but it's for those vehicles, people that want to drive a car, but they don't want to be in a truck. They don't want something huge, and it is again an easy model to recommend.
It's like a mature family Forester. You want to spend a little more, but it still has room. It still has ride height. And it has pretty good visibility around. It's an easy car. It's an easy one to live with.
It has the proportions of a wagon, so that means it's longer and narrower. So that actually can work well for. I mean, if you carry a bike with the front wheel intact, I mean that works.
Sure.
So the Outback is really a very good alternative to a small SUV with a standard engine, and if you get the turbo engine, even. A competitor to a midsize SUV in the high 30s.
So listen, check out consumerreports.org for full test results in Subaru Outback. And that brings us to next section of this awesome podcast. It's where we take your questions. We love the text questions, all the video questions. Keep them coming. TalkingCars@iCloud.com. That's TalkingCars@iCloud.com. Now, the first question we've got up is about reliability. Hey, look at that. What a coincidence. So Eric writes, I was recently watching a series on how dream cars are made, and I noticed that almost all cars are designed, manufactured, and checked for quality in very similar ways. They all have very precise procedures with computers and robotics and test their cars before shipping. So why are some manufacturers behind in reliability? So great question, and certainly apropos of what's going on in the news these days. So Gabe, what can you how can you shed light on this? I mean, does it seem like some car companies just can't unlock the keys to reliability?
Only dream cars. It's important to understand what's reliability and what it isn't. I mean, for us, reliability is long-term reliability. It's not just initial quality when the car comes out of the factory and it gets checked to see if everything works. It's the experience with the car and various problems with the cars that crop up over time. So, things might work, but then, there might be some body creaks and window cracks and infotainment glitches and whatnot. So these are the kind of things that can really affect car ownership and give you a huge headache.
Right, and John, I mean, you've written about this very extensively, and it certainly seems like models like Cadillac, Alfa Romeo, and Fiat, year after year, they're all pretty much in the lower tier. But even models, even car manufacturers that we used to count on to be almost like lights out aces, like Honda and Acura, are having issues.
Sometimes it's going to be a smaller manufacturer is going to rock it up and then rock it down because they they share a lot of components. It works very well. That's great. They all rise, but then a lot of them are going to drop if there's a problem with that. So that's one way that you see some fluctuation. I mean, if I had the exact answer as to why, I'd be a pretty wealthy.
Oh,
They're consulting.
You'd be a consultant.
But, you do see just whether it's the build process, whether it's suppliers, whether it's cost. They all have a capture test fleet. They all spend 100,000 miles on it. But it could be part of the assembly process when it's sped up and they're pumping out a lot of vehicles. This could be a part that changes on the supplier side. That they had an issue with it. So software, rears its head. I mean, my gosh, new Apple iPhone software, iOS has been problematic for the last couple. They're constantly making updates recently. So there are unforeseen things that come up. There are some perennials, and also some of the larger manufacturers, they have a much bigger, much varied product line to worry about.
Right. And very often, it's not a matter of the assembly or the manufacturing. It's part of the whole design process, and it starts at a very early stage. The components you choose, whether you rely on proven components or you introduce brand new technologies, new engine, new transmission, a new infotainment system in a new car, that's a sure prescription for having reliability problems rather than relying on some proven components.
Excellent.
So you're saying go back and buy the last model of the previous generation instead of the new stuff.
Hey, Eric, thanks for the question. Really good timing about reliability. Next up is Michael from Canada, who wants to know why some world cars are not sold in North America. I travel regularly to developing countries, and the one vehicle I see a lot is the Toyota Hilux pickup truck. It appears to be very popular with your legendary reliability. With North Americans so crazy about trucks and SUVs, why has Toyota never brought this product to North America? Now, John and I do get to travel internationally once in a while. Kids and costs maybe curtail that a bit, but certainly, Gabe, you are perhaps the most international person at this table right now. So about the Toyota Hilux, you've seen it overseas. Why doesn't Toyota bring it over?
The Toyota Hilux and the Tacoma are kind of related. The Tacoma is designed to be more suitable for the American market. It's a little wider. It has a V6 engine. The Hilux, on the other hand, is more designed for the third world countries, developing countries, the rest of the world, where pickup trucks are used for the actual tasks that pickup trucks are used for. So they have a higher payload capacity. The Hilux comes with diesel engines. It's a little narrower, so it can fit in narrower alleys and spaces. So they are related, but multinational corporations such as Toyota, they use shared components and they build their cars, like Legos, and they can act locally and rely on their vast global resources and have the right product for each region of the world.
And different cars require different regulations, DOT for U.S. and stuff like that. Sometimes maybe car companies don't feel it's worth it to jump through hoops to get a car regulated for the U.S. market.
Yeah, I mean that's a very fair point. Crash tests are expensive. Who knows what they would have to do to modify the car to even meet crash test standards in the United States. Yeah. So they have their reasons. They're, right. Like Gabe said, multinational corporation, they certainly have their reasons.
It's interesting when we travel, though. We get to see these vehicles that we don't get to see in the United States. Thanks for your question. Excellent. Finally, we have got time for one more. We have a question from Greg, who's looking for an inexpensive commuter car with a manual transmission. Greg writes, I'd like a new car specifically for commuting. I also want to save the manuals. Yay! When taking into account low price, good fuel economy, and a high crash rating, what would you recommend for me? I'm looking for the best balance of driving fun and creature comforts among base models. I love this question because we just went through this with my oldest son. He needed a car. He was driving my mom's 2006 Subaru Outback. It was a 6-cylinder model. It was an old test car, so it was lousy on gas. All the check engine lights and everything else was breaking on this. About 160,000 miles. Time to get a new car. But my son is so proud that he can operate a manual transmission. Like none of his friends can do this. So we were looking at both new and used cars with manuals. We looked at the Toyota IM, the Honda Accord, especially the V6 Coupe, which he thought was like a real sleeper, the Honda Civic, and the Subaru Impreza. But we're also checking out some of the new cars to get the new technology, new safety gear like the Toyota Corolla hatchback, the Honda Civic Sport, and the Subaru Impreza. We found him a Honda Civic Si 2015 model, about 70,000 miles. Decent price, really loves it. But I love this. I just love this question for so many reasons because it speaks to a lot of how we all grew up with smaller cars, manual transmissions. I was going to throw this to John first. What would you recommend?
So Corolla hatchback's a really good choice. That's what I had on here. Mazda 6 Sport, needs a little more size. One of the things we've seen so much is that manuals aren't going to give you any fuel economy advantage. A good automatic can do the same. I understand maybe wants a little more performance, but if you're looking maybe for fuel economy, you may actually want to look for an automatic. Right. But yeah, those are a couple of my choices. The ones you had were good ones as well.
Right. Gabe, anything else?
What he's describing here, fun to drive, but also creature comfort and some refinement. To me, that sounds like a Volkswagen GTI. It's hard to call that car a base. I mean, it's not really inexpensive.
Right.
But I'd say a Mazda 3 would be a good contender here. It gives you some driving enjoyment. It feels a little upscale inside, and you can still get it with a manual.
Excellent suggestions. I'm fully on board with that. GTI is a good choice, and I should have expected you were going to say that. Well, anyway, that's going to about wrap it up for this episode. As always, check out the show notes for more information on the vehicles and topics we talked about. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.